guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you've all had a wonderful day. Today's video is my reading wrap up for August. Now I don't want to brag, but I did pretty well this month. So I actually read 12 books this month. I read 12 books, which for me is pretty spectacular. So I did read all of my TBR. I did have one DNF, 2 DNFs. So I read my full TBR with 2 DNFs plus some extras. So I'm going to go into the DNFs first. So the first one is The Vampire's Promise by Caroline B. Cooney. Now, I went to start this one and input it on my Goodreads, and it actually informed me that this is the 3rd book in a series. So The Vampire's Promise is what the first book was renamed, but was originally the 3rd book. It's very confusing, but basically I didn't want to read it because I don't have the other 2. I don't intend to get the other 2. I kind of just wanted to read them as like a nostalgia thing, but I don't see the point in reading it if I don't have the other 2, so I didn't read that one. And then next up I have Asking for a Friend by Andy Osho. I got a couple of chapters into this and just really did not gel with the author's writing style. I didn't like it at all. I found, I just really didn't gel with it. I got the idea of it, so the point is that a group of friends like ask out boys for each other and find dates for each other, and I liked that idea. I just didn't like how the first couple of chapters were executed. So it just wasn't one for me. So yeah, I didn't read that one either. I did read, so onto the ones I read. I read Nicholas Sparks' Nights in Rodanthe. So this one follows an older couple, Paul and Adrienne, and they meet over the course of a week or a long weekend in Rodanthe while a storm is going on, and they fall in love. But then Paul goes away to work in a different country, and it's kind of about their relationship and how things evolved. I liked it. It wasn't my favourite by Nicholas Sparks out of the ones I've read, but I did enjoy it. So yeah, there's that one. I gave it 4 stars. Next up, I read Scott Westerfeld's Pretties. So I read this as my buddy read with Nikki. It's the 2nd book, and we are moving on to the 3rd book in September, and then the 4th book in October. And I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, and it follows Tally Youngblood and the continuation of her story from Uglies. I didn't expect it to go where it went, but I'm excited to see where it ends up, if that makes sense. So yeah, I did really enjoy it. It's kind of a Hunger Games-esque, but yeah, it's dystopian, but it's really good. I enjoyed it, so that is that one. Then next up, I read Cecilia Rohan's P.S. I Love You. I gave it 3 stars. I have said many a time on this channel that me and Cecilia Rohan, we're not best buds. I find her writing predictable and kind of boring. But I knew that I already loved the premise behind P.S. I Love You. I've seen the film a million times, and I was actually halfway through the book when I rewatched the film recently, and I adore the film. The film just, if I want to cry and I want to feel that warm, cozy feeling at the same time, I will watch it. I enjoyed the book. It kind of followed a similar line-ish, give or take. Would I read it again? No. It's not for me. I like the film adaptation. I feel like that's enough for me if I want to experience her world. But yeah, I wouldn't reread it. So that is that. As I said, gave it 3 stars. Next up, I had Ellis Peters' One Corpse Too Many, a medieval whodunit. So this follows a monk called Cadfael who comes across an extra corpse in a long line of them after King Stephen has rebels killed. So he then goes on a journey to find out whodunit. I really like the Cadfael stories. I have the TV series on DVD with Derek Jacobi, love it, and actually rewatched the whole series this month. But I found the book a little bit tricky. Some of the language is a little bit difficult for what I'm used to. So I did actually find the audiobook and I consumed it that way rather than physically reading it. But I did really enjoy it. I like the story. It's not my favourite one of the set, but it is a good one. Then next up, I listened to 2 Famous 5 ones. I read A Famous 5 Get Into Trouble and 5 Fall Into an Adventure. Both of them I gave 3 stars. I am trying to finish the Famous 5 series by the end of the year. I don't know if that's going to happen. But I liked it. I like the idea of 4 kids and a dog just getting into trouble and solving mysteries and crimes. We used to watch Famous 5 on VHS when I was little. So yeah, it's a proper nostalgia moment when I listen to those. So there's that. I then went on to read Maggie Stiefvater's Shiver. It's the Wolves of Mercy Falls trilogy. I gave it 2 stars. Hated it. So I did actually force myself to finish this. I got about 60 pages in and I knew it wasn't for me. But I knew that I wanted to know how it ended in case it got better. Because I really enjoyed the Raven Boys series. This hurt me, if I'm honest. It was kind of Twilight-esque with Jacob finally gets his story. So the idea is that Grace is aware of a group of wolves that live near her house, and one wolf in particular, and then a local boy is killed by the wolves, and her wolf get together to kind of solve the crime, as it were. But the idea I didn't like the way it was executed. I really wanted the story to be something that I enjoyed, and I don't know if it's maybe because I am that little bit older now that it doesn't gel with me as much as it would have done had I read it a few years back when I was like really into the Twilight series and that. But it felt Grace felt very whiny, and Sam, who's the wolf, felt very, I want you, I need you, oh, I'm a wolf. And it irritated me. And then it just seemed to get more and more silly as the book went on. Like, things happened. I don't want to spoil it in case it's something you guys want to read. But it definitely wasn't a chilling love story that will have you hooked from the very first page. Let's put it that way. So I gave it 2 stars. I will never read it again. Then next up, I continued on with the Land of Stories series by Chris Colfer with the Enchantress Returns. So this follows Alex and Connor Bailey, who have to go back to the fairy tale world to save their family, basically, and all the fairy tales from the evil Enchantress. This was quite a chunker of a book. It was 520 pages, give or take. So I read this one mostly in the book and then some on the ebook on my phone, just if I was laying in bed and didn't want to hold the physical one. And I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I'm excited to see where the story goes next because it was left on a bit of a cliffhanger. So yeah, I am really excited to get onto book number 3. So there's that one. I then read 2 other audiobooks by Dana K. White. If you haven't heard of her, she has a YouTube channel, and she basically wrote 2 books on decluttering and tidying and yeah, basically. So the first one was How to Manage Your Home Without Losing Your Mind, and then Decluttering at the Speed of Life. So I read Decluttering at the Speed of Life first and I loved it. I really enjoyed her kind of thought processes, the way she views objects, and how you can keep an amount of stuff without having to have lots of it. I really liked her views on that, so I gave that one 4 stars. But then How to Manage Your Home Without Losing Your Mind, I only gave 3 stars. I didn't enjoy it as much as the other one, but they were good books and I really recommend them. I found them on Scribd, so yeah, give them a listen if decluttering is your kind of thing. I'm really interested in it at the moment. I don't know if minimalism is kind of where I'm at, because I have a lot of stuff and I like having my things around me, but I'm thinking I'm going to do a separate video on my kind of decluttering minimalism anyway, so that will be coming. But I really did enjoy those books, and if you have a lot of stuff or you just want a few tips on how to keep your house tidy, I really recommend Decluttering at the Speed of Life. It really is a good book. So there's that. And then the final book on my actual TBR was Rebel by R.J. Anderson. So this is the second book in the... oh, I can't remember what the series is called. I can't remember what it's called. Oh, I don't know. But this is the second book, and it continues on with the fairies in the oak, and an evil empress again. Really enjoyed it, so much so that I actually read the third book as well, which wasn't on my TBR. I gave them both 4 stars. I really liked the world. I liked the relationships that evolved in it. I did want a little bit more romance from these two, because there was a little bit of romance in Knife and I enjoyed that. So I would have liked a little bit more from Rebel and Arrow, but I loved them and I will probably reread them at some point. So there are those. So they are the 12 books that I read this month. I am going to add on like a little mini declutter at the end of this video. So if you don't want to see what books I'm getting rid of, then feel free to like, subscribe, and then go about your day and do something fun. But if you do, I am just going to go through the books I've read this month that I don't want to keep, plus some other ones that I've just decluttered off my shelves. So let's get into that. So the first one I actually have is a swap. So I have the hardback version of The Short Second Life of Bree Tanner, which is an Eclipse novel, or novella, and I actually found it in a charity shop in paperback for 50p, and a floppy paperback makes me incredibly happy, so I am essentially just swapping them. So the hardback is leaving and the paperback will go on my shelves. We'll pop it there now. I do really still enjoy the Twilight series. I do want to reread them at some point. So when I saw the paperback for 50p, I just thought I'm going to get it. So this one is going. Out of the ones that I read this month, let me just grab them. I'm getting rid of the entire Wolves of Mercy Falls series. So there is Shiver, Linger and Forever. All 3 are going. I really didn't enjoy the first one, as I said, so I don't see the point in hanging on to the other 2. And I really need to make it a mission of mine that when I am interested in a series, I buy the first book, read the first book, and if I like it, I then buy the others, rather than buying the full set and then discovering one of them isn't for me, and then I've got the whole set to get rid of. So they are also going. The Cadfael book is going purely because, as I said, I find the language quite difficult to read. I do really enjoy the stories, but I can get a hold of the audiobooks if I want to, or if I want to sit and watch it on the telly, then I can watch the TV series. P.S. I Love You is going. Need I say more? Cecilia, I'm sorry. I did want to keep it because I love the cover and I love the way it looks on my shelves. But for a book I'm not going to read again, I don't see the point in keeping it. I have the DVD, so that can go. And then Asking for a Friend is going, and Vampire's Promise is going. On the same note with the Maggie Stiefvater ones, I am getting rid of Lament and Ballad. So I believe these are fairy based, which normally I would absolutely love. However, I believe that there was meant to be a 3rd book in this series that was to wrap them up, and she hasn't written it in like over 8 years, so I figure there probably isn't going to be another one. I enjoyed the Raven Boy series and I still have that on my shelf to reread at some point, so I'll hang on to that. but these two are just gonna go. Oh dear. And then I have these really lovely copies of books I have really loved, but I just don't think I'm going to reread. So I have this gorgeous version of The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame, and it's a squishy, like hardback version with gorgeous pictures. And I don't know why I'm doing it that way, you can't see. I do really, really love The Wind in the Willows story. Let me find a picture. But I have read this book before. I mean, it is a gorgeous, gorgeous copy. But I have read this book before, and it was a really long, slow slog. And I think if I was to ever read it again, I'd probably just listen to the audiobook. So it is going to go. I then have this signed copy of Into the Spotlight by Carrie Hope Fletcher. I loved the story, and I have kept other ones of her books that I have read and loved, but I just think this is middle grade. I'm probably not going to read again, so I'm going to let that go. And then also I have my copy of Daisy Jones and the Six. Again, really, really liked this, but I did listen to it by audiobook, and it was really nice to have all those different voices. So yeah, I think if I wanted to read it again, I'd just listen to the audiobook. So I'm gonna let the physical copy go. So yeah, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 books going this month, and I'm only keeping 5 of the ones that I read out of the original 12. So I'm pretty pleased with that. I am running out of space on my shelves a little bit. But I'm hoping by reading a lot more, I can kind of make a huge dent. So yeah, that is my reading wrap up for August. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more fun things to come. Definitely check out my Book Gammon September TBR. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye.